if you are an international student and you want to maximize your chance of getting into an Ivy League university, here are some harsh truths that I learned from the application process. I was waitlisted at Princeton, and I now know a lot about how the application system works, particularly for international students, and the truth about who really ends up getting into these institutions. So if you're curious as to what your chances actually are, I highly recommend you watch this video because I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, including whether or not you're seeking financial aid, whether or not you go to a feeder school, and whether or not you are paying a consultant to help you write your application. So if you couldn't guess from the intro and the way that I started this video, a lot of whether or not you actually stand a good chance as an international student of getting into an Ivy has to do with the school you go to and whether or not you are willing to pay a consultancy to help you get there. If you're not already aware, and this is just generally how the international student system works in this crazy world that we live in, is that in every single country, there is going to be one or two secondary schools in that country that are responsible for the majority of both Ivy League and Oxbridge admits. Okay, that's the reality of being an international student. How do I know this? I grew up in the UAE, and the feeder school of the UAE, if you want to go to Oxbridge or if you want to go to an Ivy League, your best shot of getting into an Ivy as somebody who is going to school in the United Arab Emirates, your best shot is going to Dubai College. That is unequivocally your best shot. Look at the admission statistics for how many kids from Dubai College get into Ivy Leagues. The last time I checked, which was admittedly a couple years ago, but the last time I checked, it was definitely over 10. It was around 10 to 15 students who were getting into Ivy Leagues. And that wasn't just 1 year. That was year on year. Majority of people who were getting in from the UAE were students of Dubai College, which was the most prestigious secondary school in the UAE and honestly probably the Middle East. The second thing I mentioned in my little intro was about financial aid. This one I can speak about relatively quickly, but if you're not aware, seeking financial aid as an international student does lower your chances. I'm not going to get into the whole conversation about need blind and need aware because honestly, I'm sure if an institution claims to be need blind, then okay, a lot of international students are under the impression that your financial aid seeking status doesn't disadvantage you. But I'm just gonna be real, I think it does disadvantage you. I'm pretty sure it does. And this is a known thing amongst, I think, counselors more so than students. As students, we're but I can't not apply for financial aid because who can afford an Ivy without financial aid? I don't really know. Some people can though. Some people actually can. But if you're seeking financial aid, just be aware of the fact that it does decrease your chances. It's just an unfortunate fact. And the last thing is about consultancies. I could make an entire video on this because it drives me crazy, but something I didn't know when I was applying was just how much it matters if you work with a consultancy, because in the same way that the school you go to massively affects whether or not you actually have a good chance of getting in, whether or not you work with an education consultancy also has a massive effect on your chances. A lot of Ivy League admits work with consultancies like Crimson Education. I know a lot of kids in the UAE worked with Hale Education, and similarly, kids in Pakistan have worked with a variety of consultancies. I don't know their names, but yeah, it's a big thing across the world. It's a big thing in Pakistan. It's a thing in the UAE as well. If you want to go to an Ivy, you pay an external company to help you, and a lot of the time, this is an extremely one-to-one tailored process where I can't lie, some of these companies genuinely are writing people's applications, and that's just what's happening, and it's a norm. And some people are having their entire applications edited line by line by a professional who went to that uni or has connections in the admissions office. And yeah, some people pay others to write their applications. It's just a fact. So those are 3 things: what school you go to, whether you're seeking financial aid, and whether you are working with a consultancy. You can look into the stats for how many kids from any given country who end up at an Ivy League actually worked with a consultancy. I guarantee you a lot of them will have paid an external organization to help with their application, if not just write their application.